Beginner basketball tips. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Streetball Strategies.
Pushing right through, won't be denied. How will I lose? The crown is mine. It's grind time. I am the truth, won't be denied. How will I lose? It's grind time.
Today we're talking about some very important tips for basketball beginners. So I'm assuming if you are a basketball beginner, you are probably naturally thinking in that basketball beginner kind of mindset, right? You're thinking inside of the basketball beginner box, meaning you've probably come here hoping to see drills and workouts that I'm going to give you that are going to then help you become a better basketball player. This is not your average basketball channel. I am not looking for average basketball results. And we here on this channel, we don't have conventional basketball goals either. So in order to get unconventional basketball results leading to unconventional basketball goals, we have to do and think unconventional things. That's what this channel is about, being unconventional, but getting you actual, usable, significant basketball improvement. Getting you to a next level basketball that all the players around you are not on because they don't think the way you do or behave and practice the way that you do. So let's get to actual advice, tips that are going to get you to the kind of basketball game that you're looking for. First and way foremost is the best advice that anyone could ever give any beginner at anything is remember to enjoy yourself. Super basic, super obvious, but so important. Remember, this is a game. This is supposed to be fun. I get it. You have basketball dreams, you have basketball goals that you're looking to achieve, and you're gonna have to work hard to achieve those goals, way harder than you could probably ever even imagine. But that is why enjoyment, having fun is so important. Because what happens is basketball players start playing basketball with whatever goals and whatever dreams they have, but at some point they realize getting there is more difficult than they anticipated it being. And the more difficult it gets, the more players drop off. The less players stick with that hard work. The harder it gets, the more they figure, well, that's okay. Like, I'm good enough. This will be good enough. I don't have to reach that outlandish basketball goal that I originally had because doing that is way too tough. Let me just back it down a little bit, calm it down, become more of a casual basketball player and not have to work so hard. And that's perfectly fine. Becoming a casual basketball player is fine, except for maybe you did have the potential to be a great basketball player, but because when it got hard, you gave up or you backed off. That's why enjoyment is so key, because when it gets hard, when it gets difficult, when you get frustrated, when you get tired, when you get fatigued, enjoyment is going to keep you on your grind. Most people fall off when it gets hard, but if you can figure out how to make your process enjoyable for you, you are much more likely to hang on when they fall off, meaning you're more likely to become a much better, much well-rounded basketball player than anyone else around you. Not only that, but if you do stick around for the long run, right, if you have a basketball career that goes for decades, having that enjoyment implanted right up front at the beginning of your career is going to allow you to have that long career. Like, you're going to be able to stick around longer than everybody else because you're going to genuinely enjoy it better for longer than everyone else. And the longer you're around, the more encapsulating and comprehensive your basketball game is going to eventually be. And speaking of fun and enjoyment, that brings me to my second tip, which is basketball fundamentals. You see, what's going to separate you from everyone else around you is how good are your fundamentals. The reason for this is because when you're learning the game of basketball, everybody wants to get to the fancy, complex stuff, the stuff that gives you the oohs and ahs and gets you all the attention. And you can get there technically without going through the fundamental process and mastering the fundamentals of basketball. But what happens is, at some point, you're going to come across a level of competition wherein they're just better basketball players than you. either because they're more talented than you are, and or because their overall game is better, more well-rounded, more comprehensive than yours is, mainly because their fundamentals are better than yours. The reason their game is more comprehensive than yours because of their fundamentals is because fundamentals allow you to fast track your game later on. You put in the extra effort, the extra time, the extra repetitions right now at the beginning, mastering your fundamentals, so that later on, when you do get into the more complex, complicated aspects of basketball skill, you'll be able to learn them better and faster. Better and faster than you would have if you didn't go through the painstaking process of mastering fundamentals now, and better and faster than everyone else around you who kind of tiptoed and like skipped through and tried to take shortcuts through fundamentals. Also, let me be clear, shooting the basketball in almost every form except for maybe free throw shooting, shooting the basketball is not a basketball fundamental, meaning you should not be thinking about it, you should not be focusing on it at all at the beginning of your basketball career. Basketball fundamentals mean the very basic elements of the game, mastering them. That begins with moving around the court. How do you, as a player, move around the court? Footwork. After you've learned that, after you've mastered that, then comes how do you move the basketball itself around the court, be it dribbling, ball handling, or passing. Basic movement around the court is basketball fundamentals. Shooting the basketball has nothing to do with it. The only aspect in which shooting should be part of it is just shooting around to have fun, to keep yourself engaged. But in terms of actual learning, actual growing and mastering to become a basketball player, when we're talking about basic fundamentals, shooting has nothing to do with it. But that's why figuring out how to make this process fun and entertaining for you is so important, because when we're talking about footwork, when we're talking about dribbling, ball handling, that stuff is so basic and so fundamental that it's not really that difficult to learn, but in order to get a real grasp on it, to really master it, takes time because it takes so much repetition, and that repetition can become boring and tedious. When it becomes boring and tedious, all the other players fall off, they give up, they skip ahead. You cannot do that. You have to stick with it so that your game becomes more comprehensive than theirs. In order to stick with it though, that means you have to figure out how to make it fun and entertaining to you. When they don't do that, they get bored, they give up. You keep yourself engaged because you're still enjoying yourself. So I can't put the emphasis enough on mastering every level of fundamentals of basketball first before you get to the fun shooting competitive side of basketball. Build your foundation as strongly now so that later on when you branch off into the other more complicated, complex branches of basketball, those branches will be sturdier, they'll be more comprehensive than everyone else around you. And my final tip is for you to get out here, get in game, get in competitions, and get you as much experience as you possibly can as soon and as often as possible. And since you're a beginner, that experience is going to very much be about making mistakes. You need to intentionally be trying to make as many mistakes as possible. Obviously not on purpose, but you're getting as much experience as you possibly can, which means organically in that process you're going to be making all kinds of mistakes. That's very important because it is crucial to the improvement process. The improvement process goes like this. You get out here, you genuinely try as hard and as best as you can. You play as hard and as smart as you know how to do at whatever level you are. Then you make mistakes, right? And in those mistakes, you have to know that you're gonna feel terrible, right? You're gonna embarrass yourself. You're probably gonna make mistakes that, lead to yourself or your team losing games. Like you're gonna make a mistake at the end of a game where if you didn't make that mistake, you very well may have won that game, but because you did make the mistake, you ended up losing, and you're gonna feel terrible about that. When you make those mistakes, right, what happens is you then genuinely resolve to get better. So you try, you fail, and then you genuinely resolve to get better. What happens to most players out here, right, especially casual players who just settle for being casual at best, when they make mistakes, when they get embarrassed, when they feel the shame of blowing a game for their team, what they say is, oh yeah, I made that mistake, I feel bad, I'll try better, I'll do better next time. But they don't really mean it, because getting better actually is difficult. Putting in the work to actually genuinely get better is so difficult. Doing it once, not much of a problem. Doing it over and over and over again, that's where they fall off. They'll say they want to get better, they'll try to get better, they will get better. They'll say it because it's easy to say it. Talk is cheap. But when it comes to actually putting in the work and going through that process over and over again, they're just not gonna do it. So you try, you fail, you resolve to get better, and then you actually put in the work to get better, and you repeat that process over and over again. You wanna go through that process as soon and as often as you possibly can as a beginner. You're just gonna have to accept the embarrassment, the shame, the mistakes. It just comes with the territory. It's part of the learning process. Everyone has to go through it. It's just a matter of how well do you adjust to it? How well do you accept it? The more you fight it, the slower your progress is going to be. But the more you accept it, and the more you actually genuinely resolve to get better and then put in the work to do so, the better, faster you're gonna get. Those are general basketball beginner tips. Again, unconventional advice, but we're trying to get unconventional basketball results. And I guarantee you, I promise you, that if you put in the work to be able to enjoy and have fun with the game, unlike and above all the players around you, and then you put in the work in order to have fundamentals that are deeper and more comprehensive than the players around you, and then you come out to the court and you try to use those fundamentals and get as much experience as you possibly can, at least as much experience as everyone around you, sooner than later you will be making way more progress than all of the players around you. Now there is one sad reality, which is if you happen to be around a player or multiple players who just happen to have basketball talent, there's nothing you can really do about that. You can't really compete with or beat talent. If they're just more talented than you, they're probably just gonna be better than you. But thankfully, basketball talent is pretty rare. And even with players that have that talent, if you work hard enough and smart enough, you can get to their level and compete with them. But for the most part, learning how to have fun, which is a skill, learning how to have the best fundamentals of anyone you've ever met, and then getting as much experience as you possibly can, more so than anyone else out here, that is going to be your best chance to become the best basketball player you can be. So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, if you think it's going to help you become a better basketball player as a beginner, or if you know other basketball players who are beginners who are starting to learn the game, if you think they would benefit from this video, share it with them. But in the meantime, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And let all of us know down in the comments, what is your best advice for basketball beginners? What have you gone through in your own experience that you could let us know down in the comments that, like, if we do this, it'll help way more than we expected as basketball beginners. But before you comment, make sure you hit that thanks button down below, because when you hit that thanks button, not only does it make all of your comments stand out from all the other comments, but it also directly supports the channel. So for anyone that does hit that thanks button, know I genuinely appreciate it. As always, like, share, comment like I said. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever any video goes live on this channel. And until then, I'll see you guys next week.
Dominate when I'm active. Payday when I cash in. I'm the main attraction. Ain't no questions, no asking. Legends all in my bloodline. Stay ready for it like the front line. I'm on time when it's crunch time. Victory sound like the drum line. Whoa! Ready to go, ready to rock, I'm ready for more. Top of the game, ahead of the scope. I want it all, give me some more. On your mark, get ready to roll. Grit in the grind, it's all that I know. Back in the trenches, I'm back in my mode. Moving the dirt, bring